Comic-Con. How are you guys? We got any Shout Factory fans in the house tonight? How about Scream Factory?
Yay!
All right, I think we're in the right room.
Wait, I think the Shout Factory people weren't ready. Shout Factory fans? All right, now you're ready.
There we go. All right, I am Bill Hunt. I am the editor of thedigitalbits.com, which is a website that's been covering DVD and Blu-ray for 20 years now. And I am very, very pleased to be here moderating the breaking news from Shout Factory and Scream Factory panel. We've got, these guys have all kinds of cool stuff to show you guys to talk about tonight. So to my left here is Brian Ward, who's the Senior Director of Video Production for Shout Factory. Next to Brian is Jeff Nelson, who's the Senior Marketing Director for Scream Factory. And down on the end there, we have Jeremy Whitham, who is the Development Director for Shout Factory. And I think we're going to have Jeremy start things off, because I think he's got some interesting things to show you.
Thanks, Bill, and thanks all of you for being here. I've been at Comic-Con a lot of times. I've never been up here, so this is fun for me. I'm here to make some announcements about Starcade. Some of you might have read in January that Shout Factory is teaming up with JM Production Company, who created the show Starcade, to bring it back for a new generation of gamers. And if you're not familiar with Starcade, it aired from 1982 to 1983. It's considered the very first video arcade game show. So a lot of what we see today, whether it's with Twitch or YouTube gaming, Conan's Clueless Gamer, what have you, competitive gaming started with Starcade. And so I wanted to share a clip from the show with you and then make an announcement.
Want to have lights, please?
Oh, yeah. Lights, please.
Welcome to Starcade, a show that features some of today's most popular video arcade games.
Starcade has all the familiar game show trappings, an affable host, eager contestants, and of course, prizes.
Are you guys ready to play Starcade? Yeah! All right, let's go do it. We're going to ask you a question. First one to buzz in gets to answer the question, answer correctly, and you'll pick the first Starcade game. One of you is going to have a chance to win this fabulous video arcade game. It is Burger Time.
Burger Time, a unique game of building burgers while being chased by hot dogs, pickles, and eggs.
Man, do you have a particular pattern you're going to use?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, and you don't want to tell what it is because you don't want Vance to know, right?
No.
The celebration fund is going. Job on everything in sight.
You did it! You got it! Let's play Starcade!
All right, let's go play Starcade. Here we go.
I think that's it.
Yep. When it goes to black, that's it.
That was on TBS, right?
That was on WTBS, yeah.
That's right.
It aired. So I wanted to announce we're gonna we're gonna do a 6-day Twitch marathon, which is gonna feature all 123 episodes of the original broadcast run of Starcade, and it's gonna be running from Tuesday, August 22nd through Monday, August 28th. And like I mentioned, I think we wouldn't necessarily have a Twitch without a Starcade. Starcade's considered the godfather of competitive gaming, and I think they're going to be great partners for the show. And this is phase 1.0 of us bringing it back. We also have some exciting announcements coming up soon about a rebooted series.
Outstanding. Very cool. Can we, when we do the next clip, can we have the audio up just a little bit on the next? Thank you, man. That's outstanding. That's very cool. I remember watching Starcade back in the day, man. That's very cool. All right, so I think
I never grew up with a video game system. My parents wouldn't let me have it.
What?
how is that possible?
My parents, they read an article in some paper about a child psychologist saying video games are bad for kids.
Wow.
And I never got a
Stout.
Nintendo, so I never liked going over to other people's houses and watching them play video games for me. But when I started seeing videos of this, I'm like, I can't stop watching these kids playing video games. It was the antithesis of everything I ever grew up with, and now I want to watch all of them.
Did you really?
my.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, that's a good one.
That is a good one. Whoa.
We just played video games a lot when we were kids. Defender and Miss Pac-Man, and that was great.
Yeah.
well, and
ColecoVision.
now those
Yes.
ROMs are all on the internet now with MAME and all the kind of stuff like that.
Okay, we're
All right.
geeking out a little bit here.
We are. All right,
what we
so
do.
we've got some stuff to talk about as far as Shout Factory, and I believe Mr. Brian Ward is going to talk about some cool stuff. First of all, I have to thank you for Streets of Fire. Streets of Fire, right?
I wish I was the one you needed to thank. But
Well, still very cool.
as a big fan of Streets of Fire myself, I was very excited to see that title come across the table.
Yeah.
And the bonus features are fantastic. The movie looks amazing.
Yeah.
And it was down at our booth, but
Sold out.
Sold out.
Yeah.
The thing I like
Very
about
quickly.
The thing I like about what these guys are doing is that unlike a lot of the other studios, when you talk to these guys who are actually working on these titles at Shout Factory and Screen Factory, they are fans of this material. They know it, they love it, and that is a very, very different thing than when you go talk to like some of the regular studios and you talk to their catalog people and they just don't have any idea what you're talking about. They're not consumers of these films like these guys are. They're one of us, which is great.
How long, Jeff, have you been collecting VHS, DVD, Laserdisc, Blu? Not to age you.
No,
but I mean,
that's okay. I'm 45. I'll age myself. I've been collecting, VHS ever since the 80s. Like I remember buying The Fog for $39.95. That was on sale, and then
That was
in
a rental
1986
cassette?
right? Exactly. And that was a big deal. But yeah, all through the 90s, I was buying that stuff, and
yeah,
just crazy. That
I was a manager of a Suncoast.
Oh, nice.
Like I literally turned over my paycheck into the company to buy off the letterbox section, and occasionally the movie poster frame section, because they're the only ones you could find with movie posters the right size, or like frames the right size. So that's who we are. The entire company is built of those people. So I appreciate that.
We'll have a title that will come into play, and we'll have people in the different departments come out of the woodwork, and they're like, it would be really cool for an extra if you get it for this, and we're like, oh, well, let's listen to the fan here. I mean, we have a lot of that at Shout.
And that's what you want, because I think we all know the best special editions are made with fans in mind, and in order to do that, you have to be a fan. You have to know the material. You have to love it.
I mean, it's your title currently. We've got it down at the booth right now, but I just produced Teen Wolf.
Right.
Teen Wolf, it's a 91-minute movie. We made a 2.5-hour documentary. And you can buy it at the Shout Factory booth right now.
And you should, because it's great, and that's exactly as it should be.
So that's what we want. Is I refused to buy DVDs or Blu-rays without bonus features. Now I kind of refuse to make Blu-rays or DVDs without bonus features.
Well, we were talking out in the hall a little bit earlier about how a lot of the major studios now, when they do catalog titles, they'll just kind of put them out, maybe remastered, but recycle the extras from before, but not a lot new. And I love that we're kind of back to the Laserdisc days, where the studios don't really want to be bothered with their catalog, so they license it to people who really want to do something cool with it.
I'm not going to lie, I don't mind when studios do that, because it gives us the opportunity to license it later and do it better.
That's true.
That's really, it's like, go ahead, put it out.
But I do have to add that sometimes you just don't know with a title. We'll try to do extras, and it's all dependent on whether the cast, crew, producers, people are willing to talk about it, or financially it makes sense. I mean, you know, a title like The Thing, we know it's going to sell. We know people love it. We know the filmmakers love it.
Right.
Some obscure title that no one's ever heard of. Who do we reach out to? And if we do reach out to, sometimes they say, I want thousands of dollars. And we're like, we can't afford it. So it's tricky, but we definitely try to do it.
Well, and sometimes I imagine you reach out and the people to talk about stuff and they don't really have necessarily a memory of, it was just a job for some
or
of these
a bad
people.
memory. And then we're like, okay, well, just kind of, you know, pass.
Yeah. Well, I think we've got, Brian, you've got some interesting stuff to share in terms of Shot Factory.
Well, in addition to some of the Blu-rays and DVDs of classic nostalgia that we're doing, we're also doing a lot of original content and some contemporary releases. And with that, we're actually doing a lot of, or at least we're trying to put our foot into the theatrical release realm, and with great success, I might add. I mean, we've had some really good releases that have gone theatrical in the last couple of years. The first one that I actually want to point out is a personal favorite of mine. It's an anime film that's called In This Corner of the World. And it's it's a personal and, as far as I'm concerned, an important film for people to see. It has literally beaten live action films for best film in many of the festivals that it's gone to.
Wow.
It won the Academy Award in Japan for Best Animated Feature. And now we're going to put it out on August 11th in theaters and later on Blu-ray and DVD. But it's all about a young girl who lived in a neighboring town of Hiroshima during World War II. And when you watch the trailer for it, which we'll show you in a minute, something you need to understand is, like, the filmmaker who made this movie did such immense research into Hiroshima that every building you see in the background is literally what it looked like.
Wow.
Before the bombing. They went through and looked at street after street of photographs, and if there weren't photographs, they talked to survivors who could tell them what the building looked like that they were missing. And not only that, but we've done panels with them at several special screenings, and the director said that the weather that you see in each individual scene is exactly what the weather was on those days, and they have those charts. They know exactly what it was. So when you watch this movie, it is incredibly important, very moving, and frankly, I think the Academy should pay attention. So I'd like to show the trailer for it.
Probably similar.
Yeah. I would easily. Yeah, it's a great movie, very powerful, and show the trailer.
なんか思ったらあんた嫁に言う人があんた方来とってじゃとわざわざ来るから
こちらですお父さんお母さん末永お世話になります
昨日は灰ヶ峰の上でもらっとったね
そう 見つけてくれて。周作さん、ありがとう。この世界の片隅に。
That looks outstanding.
It is absolutely brilliant.
I just love that traditional hand-drawn animation in some parts of the world is a serious dramatic art form and is like still thriving. And I'm glad that you guys are helping to bring that to American audiences. That's amazing.
And it's a filmmaker who's worked extensively with Miyazaki and the folks over at Ghibli. Like it's a beautiful film, and you can't get enough just watching that. Like you really have to see the movie. It's fantastic. In that, you know, I won't say in the same vein, but you know, we're also releasing a film. Do we have any Community fans out there? Danny Pudi made. There's an amazing movie that's come out called The Tiger Hunter, and this one is a very personal film, not by him, but there was a reason why he was cast, and the filmmakers and he really gelled, and the film is fantastic, and we'll show you the trailer.
Listen to me, Sami. To be a great tiger hunter, you must become the tiger.
My name is Sami Malik. My father was a great man, the world's most glorious tiger hunter. How can I ever live up to a man like that? America. America is where you find greatness.
We have a temporary draftsman job down in the basement.
No. I'm a highly skilled engineer.
Alex.
Sammy.
If you want to fit in the right circle, you've got to talk the talk. These guys, we're talking about a lifetime of schmoozing about things like golf, ethnic foods.
I want to be a professional American. Tacos, amigos, muchachos. Hey, Linda, thank God it's Friday. Anyone here notice how much torque is involved in figure skating?
Where are you living? Have they given you a new house?
Not exactly. So many of these men have technical degrees, yet they are working as taxi drivers and dishwashers.
This is a great country. There's no shame in any kind of job you do.
It's not the same without you here, Sammy. How are you?
Great. Ruby, I've only wanted to marry her my whole life. You're coming to America.
To meet with some potential suitors?
She's expecting me to be an engineer and to have a castle?
You know what the Americans say, fake it till you make it.
Let's quickly transform the house, make it look like a successful Indian man lives here.
In Three's company, they did this all in 30 minutes.
Sir!
Dazzle me.
Just the humble abode of a successful engineer.
You've barely been here a month.
Things happen quickly here.
I will never be successful enough to marry that girl.
I let you down. I had this great tiger hunter for a father, and this is what he gets for a son.
Come on, Sammy! Hey! We gotta go now!
They often say that greatness skips a generation.
I only wish to live up to my father's example.
It's a great movie. It's funny. There's a lot of heartwarming drama in it as well. And in fact, when I first watched it, I was actually inspired by a lot of the subplots in the film and in the characters that are what they're doing, how they're acting, you know, and motivations for certain things. It was a beautiful movie, and I'm looking forward to folks seeing it.
How are you finding some of these films? Are you going out to like festivals and kind of seeing what's available and establishing relationships with some of these companies? And
yeah, as from the Digital Bits panels, you know, there's the consummate question of like, is home media in its coffin? No,
right.
It's not. We're actually doing very well, but we are seeing. Not as much a need, but a desire to broaden our horizons and actually go theatrical with things and do some original content and actually find titles that might not see exposure elsewhere and put them in theaters for folks to see. And these are just two of them that we have found going to festivals. And in some cases, folks are coming to us, just as they used to do with home media. Just as they still do, certainly with Jeff and the folks and Cliff over at Screen Factory, they're coming to shout and saying, we would like you guys to put this out. on Blu-ray or DVD and maybe put it out theatrical. What do you think? And we were like, yeah. And they're amazing titles. We would be stupid to say no.
Well, that's exciting too, because it's nice. It's a nice change of pace from, I mean, the stuff that tends to be in theaters is, they're blockbusters and big Hollywood stuff, and movies like this, otherwise would tend to get lost in the shuffle. An audience they might be at your local theater for, a couple of days and be gone a week later, and you'd never even know it was there.
Yeah.
So it's nice that you guys are able to do that, pick them up, promote them, give them a little life, build an audience for them.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're movies that folks need to see, whether it's in theaters, because sometimes it might be select cities, but we're going to put them out on Blu-ray and DVD. You need to see these movies; they're great films, and that's sort of what we've created our whole brand on, whether it's with horror or with Shout Factory or Shout Select. It's movies you need to see, and we're trying to do that theatrically as well.
And it's kind of a curating function too, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah. You guys, I mean, in terms of independent stuff, you guys excited about more and more independent things like that on the side? Yeah. Very, very cool.
In that same vein, does anyone know The Trip? Or what was it, A Trip to Italy? It's Steve Coogan, Rob Brydon. We get to do the third movie in the trilogy, which I'm very excited about because I love these movies. The Trip to Spain is another one that's coming from IFC, and we're going to be releasing that one, and I'm very excited about that. These guys, two of the funniest people and some amazing improvisationalists, as well as, you don't find much better folks who can imitate other actors and sort of lampoon other actors, but doing it lovingly. The premise, if you're not familiar with the Trip franchise, is that these two friends who are playing themselves are going on various trips around the world, and in doing so, they're trying out the best foods of the culture, but in the meantime, they're making fun of one another and of Hollywood. It's hilarious. I don't have a trailer for you because it is only a 45-minute panel. But the two guys are hilarious together. If you've not seen The Trip and the sequel, I highly recommend you watching it. And the third one is going to be just as good. It's fantastic.
Has anybody seen the first two at all?
I see a couple of nods.
Yeah,
like,
a couple,
you should
yeah.
absolutely see this movie. It's almost done in the vein of like sort of a one of those trip around the world sort of TV shows, but it's just two friends who happen to be Hollywood. In the case of the movie, they're sort of egotists, so they're constantly one-upping one another. But it's beautifully done, brilliantly written, very funny. We're also doing some more original sort of content. We're putting money into some original content. Last year we did Howard Lovecraft and the Frozen Kingdom, based on H.P. Lovecraft as a child, learning, it's all the experiences that inspired his writing, based on a graphic novel by Arcana. This year we are doing the sequel to that. It is called Howard Lovecraft and the Undersea Kingdom. It co-stars Mark Hamill in a brilliant role. Christopher Plummer. Ron Perlman is coming back from the first film. We've also got some folks from some classic H.P. Lovecraft in movies, such there may be a Reanimator or two might be in key important roles in these movies. The animation is fantastic, and the story is really great. I highly recommend. Anyone who's an H.P. Lovecraft fan will certainly find lots of hidden Easter eggs that are specifically designed for you. It's great. Also, in addition to that, we are doing a sequel to the Red Sonja animated comic that we did last year. It was run by Gail Simone. This year, we are doing Blood and Fire, the second volume. I have the fortune of helming that one myself this year. So Misty Lee will return as Red Sonja. We'll also have a pretty fantastic voice cast, and we will be doing an animated comic based on that volume. The thing that I like about these animated comics, a lot of people are like, motion comics. It's not what you know from, say, The Watchmen, where it was hinged. Hello, I am so-and-so. Like, it's not that. It's a full-blown voice cast, all SAG-AFTRA actors who are really great at, not only animated series, but video games. They know what they're doing. Great voice director. And we're taking the art of Walter Giovanni, which is some beautiful artwork, and we are legitimately animating it. So it gets better every time we do it. We've been doing it with Marvel Knights, and now we're doing it with Dynamite, and we're looking forward to getting started with Red Sonja. Of course, we've got the 3rd volume of Digimon Adventure Tri. That is Confession. Literally, is anyone a Digimon fan in the room? You will be. All right, so we've got a couple. If Digimon Adventure Tri Confession, I kid you not, is a game changer in the franchise. There is some amazing. We premiered it at Anime Expo, and we brought back the original voice cast, and they are doing the voice cast or the voices for the English dub. We're doing both the Japanese and English language tracks for folks who are diehard anime fans versus diehard American Digimon fans, and it is a really powerful story, so we look forward to showing that to you. If you are a Super Sentai fan, of course, we're doing some Super Sentai. We've got a Super Sentai fan there. We never officially announced Mega Ranger. There were reasons for that, but it's officially coming out. That is happening. We're working on the subtitles right now. We're also prepared to announce, normally we were like, we'll wait and see what the latest volume is doing before we announce the first one. But we're going to go ahead and take a leap and say we're also going to do Gingaman, which is coming up probably later this year, maybe early next year. Because the Super Sentai series, if people aren't familiar with Super Sentai, it is the show that inspired Power Rangers. So for every season of Sentai, they would take the footage, the fight footage, and then they would turn it into an American series and replace all the Japanese stuff, but keep the fight stuff. And so we've done all the Power Rangers for like 17 seasons, and now we're doing the show that inspired it, and it's doing exceptionally well. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily think like a series that was a Japanese series would do this well, but every single season sells.
If you're a fan of Power Rangers, it's fascinating to be able to see the source material in the other context.
Completely different.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very different show. You could do a thesis on the difference between one series and what it became in America. And so I highly encourage you to pick those up. We're also doing, for gamers out there, Halo. We are doing the complete collection.
There he is right there.
And some people have seen some of these movies before. We are doing the Shout Factory treatment. We're giving them some extra bonus features and doing some things. In fact, the gentleman there working the computer is in charge of that, and he's doing a killer job. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's Blu-ray. It will be Blu-ray. Shout Select. Is anyone familiar with Shout Select? Now we're talking.
A few people.
We're talking to my people now. This is a brand that we created to basically handpick and curate titles that we think deserve to be given the treatment by Shout. Not to say that the Shout Factory treatment doesn't deserve it, or the other Shout Factory titles, but Shout Select are like the ones that we have a special place in our hearts for. The first movie that I'd like to announce in that one is the John Landis film Into the Night. We are doing that one with the help of Mr. Landis himself.
Oh, that's outstanding.
In fact, a mutual friend of ours, Mr. Cliff Stevenson, is currently working with Mr. Landis.
Very cool.
Putting together some bonus material for that one. So you're promised some great stuff. In addition, we've got the John Goodman film Matinee. And that one, frankly, is a personal favorite of mine, so I was very happy to see it land in his shout select. There's another film, early 80s, called The Plague Dogs.
Wow.
So here's the thing. Yeah, so here's the thing. Plague Dogs is always on the list of the best animated films you've never seen. Every year or two, somebody puts out a list, and The Plague Dogs is always one of them. And it is a brilliant movie, very much a sort of sequel to Watership Down. Beautiful animation, amazingly performed by a bunch of dogs who are in a lab who manage to escape. And adventure, some tragedy, it's beautiful. You absolutely need to see it. And then, do I have any Paul Rudd fans in the house? We've got an amazing Paul Rudd film that's coming out. And with that, I want to show a clip.
Amazing.
It's amazing.
Okay.
It's amazing Paul Rudd.
All right, we'll see.
I want to show a clip.
Yes, it's true.
We will be releasing Mac and Me, and we're very happy about it. So that's what I've got to offer.
Outstanding. Let's have a hand for Mac and Me. There, come on.
Just for the McDonald's dance scene alone? Yes.
It's a movie trailer that started with Ronald McDonald.
I know.
All right, so we've got, let's see. I believe Mr. Jeff Nelson is going to talk about some Screen Factory goodness. And here's the cool thing. Screen Factory is celebrating its 5th anniversary. Can you guys believe that? 5 years.
Crazy.
It's amazing. And 5 years, but the number of titles, oh my God.
We are approaching 300 this year. And if somebody had told me 5 years ago that we would be doing that many titles in 5 years, I wouldn't have believed it. I just, we started something and a monster grew, so to speak.
Yeah.
God, you're so lazy, Jeff.
I know, my God. We had a 5-year anniversary sale this year that broke all of our sales records in our company this year by far. We were really, we crashed the site at one point.
Oh, wow.
And we had so many back orders that they're still being fulfilled. And I mean, it's great. I mean, again, as you said earlier in the conversation about us being fans,
yeah.
If I could go back in time and tap the 10-year-old who was watching The Fog like 100 times, like, you have no idea how long these movies are going to last your lifetime. I just would never believed it.
And there's just, there is an intense interest in this kind of genre,
really
this kind
is.
of sort of the B and the horror and slasher stuff. It's like stuff that everybody grew up with. And then there's all the stuff that everybody knew about growing up, but they may not have gotten to see. And it's like, it's just such a deep vein of content.
Well, it's cool because in those 5 years and where we are right now is that, we started off with the retro stuff, They Live and, Terror Train and all those kind of movies. And now, as we were talking about original programming, we had our original feature last year, Fender Bender. We've been delving into new movies like Bite. We have a great new movie coming out on September 1st called Jackals, very much in the vein of Your Next meets The Strangers, meets The Hills Have Eyes a little bit, just kind of very intense new movie that we have. And we are exploring new original productions and evolving like that too.
Well, what's interesting about that is there was a period of time, so the 80s into the 90s was a really rich time for this kind of material, but then there was kind of a drought where there just weren't a lot of necessarily great films, but there's starting to be a lot of young filmmakers now that are really finding new and interesting sort of twists and new areas to explore with the genre. There's more kind of great content coming out than ever before being created. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's great. Other things that we are doing too is you guys, I don't know if you've been to our booth, but you saw that we announced Steelbooks this year for the 3 John Carpenter films, Escape from New York, The Fog, and They Live.
Steelbook fans in the house? Steelbook fans?
So believe me, for the response of them, you will definitely be seeing more Steelbooks next year. What we don't have those titles figured out, but you'll see more. We're also going to be exploring 4K UHD. We do not have titles yet, but we are definitely seeing which titles it makes sense for and what that marketplace is for, because we know that there's a demand for it. And
now let's find out, show of hands, who here has got 4K and has adopted 4K already? Couple people?
All right.
Who here is thinking about it? Anyone thinking about it?
See, maybe some of the Scream Factory titles will help you,
I will tell you
decision.
that this sort of toward the end of the holiday season, you're finally starting to see the floodgates open with a lot of good, like big titles, a lot of big catalog. All the major studios are on board now, but they're all doing like the biggest A-list titles or the biggest A-list, catalog stuff. So if you guys can get in there and get access to some of those great films, those classic stuff, and the stuff that you've been doing, but do it in 4K, that could be pretty special.
Absolutely.
That'd be very cool.
So we're definitely looking at that. I have, of course, announcements. I know a lot of you guys are waiting for them, but we're going to show you a sneak preview. You guys are the first to see this. We have Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead coming out this October, the remake of George Romero, R.I.P.
Yeah, we should a round of applause in honor of George Romero.
Of course. Just touching on that really quickly, when anybody big like that in the horror community passes away, it affects us. I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, when Wes Craven did a couple years ago, I mean, it's a very sad day. And George Romero, I mean, what a legend. We had Day of the Dead and The Dark Half and Monkey Shines, a couple of films, and he was a great guy.
He was an enormously wonderful human being. I mean,
absolutely.
He was just, I was fortunate enough to interact with him 15, 20 years ago. When I first started out, Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, the DVD was coming out, and I was invited to an audio commentary session with him and John Harrison. And it was just like the three of us. And everybody got there late, so the three of us were just sitting there talking and telling stories. And those guys came up together in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
So Romero was just a big, huge teddy bear of a man with like a smile on his face and laughter and a million stories to tell. He was an extraordinary person. He really was.
He really is.
I'm not going to lie. When we heard the announcement, the very first thought I had was I should text Jeff. My condolences.
Well, I saw it immediately, and we got on it, and a lot of people shared our post from Scream Factory from the LA Times or whatever. But we have special. We have the people who do the extras who were quite devastated. Segueing onto more positive. So Dawn of the Dead, Zack Snyder's remake, has its fans and detractors, but when we announced it a couple weeks ago and we saw the pre-orders, there's a lot of fans of it. I happen to be one of it. I think it's a very energetic and well-done remake. We can't always say that about remakes of classic films.
Right.
But you guys are the first to see a sneak preview. We did a new interview with actor Ty Burrell, whom you guys probably know of as Phil Dunphy from Modern Family. He plays a bit of an asshole in Dawn of the Dead. So it's a little weird to see Dawn of the Dead now when you're used to seeing Phil Dunphy being a goof on Modern Family. But here's a clip of Ty Burrell. Lights, please.
What the fuck? For a long time, my mom started to get concerned about my career because every movie I did, I was either shot or fired. Everything. It was like every part I played, and I'm sure this is how I got this part, was from previous parts where I would come on, and the minute I came on, you, as an audience member, you thought, when is he going to get his comeuppance? And at some point, I would get fired or shot. So it was inevitable in this movie that I was going to get shot or fired. I loved that scene. It was so fun. I had actually worked up a voice not knowing that they were going to do it all with sound effect. I came up with a voice, like some crazy voice. I mean, all I'd done is theater up to that point. So I literally didn't even know that that sound was going to, I thought I would, you know, like on stage you would have to make that voice. So I came up with this crazy voice and Zach was like, all right, let's hear it. He was very nice. He was like, well, that was great, buddy. Thanks so much. Don't ever do that again. But I did the voice just for commitment, you know, during the filming of it, and then they looped over it.
Steve!
I got him.
Damn. The shot scene we actually did in one take. And I don't think we even did a safety shot. It was one of those rare things that it just acts, because there's a lot of things that have to kind of go right for that. It had nothing to do with my skill. It was all about the timing of the rig on my back. It was actually like a reversed vacuum cleaner or something. It was very analog, but it actually timed out so well the first time. And I think maybe the cleanup was extensive enough that they were like, you know, I think we got it. I just had a ball. I had so much fun. It was one of the better shooting days of my life.
I totally forgot he was in that film.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
All right, so we have about 10 minutes, and we want to hear question and answers, but come on, I got announcements, so I'm going to barrel through them. But I just want to preface by saying, as you know, when we do their announcements, we have something for everybody on here. So here we go. We have 1958's Attack of the Puppet People from director Burt Gordon, first time on Blu-ray. We have a never-before-seen on VHS or DVD movie called Eye of the Cat. It's written by Joseph Stefano, who wrote Psycho, and it stars Eleanor Parker, you know, Sound of Music, Baroness of all things. Wow. We put out the original Darkman in 2014, and we will be putting out its sequels, Darkman 2 and Darkman 3 with Arnold Vosloo. We have this quasi-slasher horror film from 1988 called American Gothic. It stars Yvonne DiCarlo, and it is directed from the director of The Legend of Hell House and Watcher in the Woods. It's a bizarre movie. I've seen it a couple of times. All right, so on to the collector's editions, the bigger ones. We are introducing our first for Scream Factory, Jean-Claude Van Damme in Cyborg, collector's edition. This was not
from Brussels.
What?
The muscles from Brussels.
Cliff, who's the other part of Scream Factory, loves this movie. I'm like, okay, go for it. Next, we have probably the scariest of all home invasion horror films, The Strangers, 2008. We'll be doing a collector's edition of that. There's a sequel of that coming out next year, so we will be giving that an upgrade. We are also going to be tackling Sam Raimi's 2009 Drag Me to Hell, which is fantastic. It's just a fun house of, yeah, it's a great movie, wild ride. We are going to be giving the love and attention the movie Misery so deserves, including a 4K film scan, and we already have an interview with Rob Reiner. And last but not least, Ho, 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 Silent Night, Deadly Night. The ultimate anti-holiday classic, before Christmas, of course. And yeah, I'm super psyched about that one.
That's
I love
outstanding.
it.
That's very cool.
We had Black Christmas last year, Silent Night, Deadly Night this year. So, and then we have New Year's Evil, so I think we got all the holidays like sort of covered in that time frame. So yeah. You know, Lionsgate. Well, maybe, never
right, so
say never.
We have about 10 minutes? 10, 15 minutes? Seven minutes. We have a microphone. You guys wanted questions? Let's do some Q&A.
Yes.
Now that you've done Slither, how about Night of the Creeps?
You know, Night of the Creeps is a great movie. It is with another studio we can't license at the time, but duly noted. If we could get it, we would love it.
A couple years ago at Comic-Con, Fred Decker was here for the DVD release,
Uh-huh.
and I asked him about it, and he goes, everybody keeps telling me I need to watch Slither. do we really need to? And I'm like, yes. And he's like, okay, I'll have to.
Very inspired by Night of the Creeps. Yep,
You
definitely.
guys are open to working with any studio that will be willing to work with you, right?
Yes, just, I mean, believe me, we knock on a lot of doors, and for one reason or another, some of them open, some of them don't, but yes, we would be.
And amazingly, a lot of doors knock on us.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm really glad to hear that Super Sentai is selling well, performing well. Has Toei talked about doing Metal Heroes or Kamen Rider or anything like that?
So
maybe even modern Sentai.
I don't want to. I don't want to talk out of school. I don't know. Our deal is with Saban. Saban's deal is with Toei. So we are sort of in this interesting sort of kind of game of telephone. I don't know exactly what the rights are, but my understanding is that Kamen Rider is a rights issue. That it's not necessarily all owned by one person or one entity, and that's kind of what's keeping it. We would love to do it. We know that the fans want it. Toei knows it. Saban knows it.
Okay. So it's in the ether right now, maybe.
Fingers are crossed.
Thanks.
Earlier this year, you released Beauty and the Beast, directed by Christoph Gans.
Yeah.
And the first thing when I saw that online, I couldn't help but think, possibly 2000's Le Pas de Loup, Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Ooh.
That's just one of those,
Look, you're preaching to the choir right here.
Yeah.
I would fight anyone to produce a collector's edition of that title. It's not on the list yet.
Nope.
But it's something that I would love to tackle.
Okay, I'm just going to shoot out my dream Shout Factory release and see what you guys think. I guess 3 movies that very well need a Blu-ray release, and especially the collector's editions that you offer that are fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay. Peter Jackson, Bad Taste,
Yes, I'm already
Meet the
Peter
Feebles,
Jackson, I'm
and
already in.
Brain Dead Alive.
Believe me.
Those would be great.
If we could get to them, we would. We've definitely seen the requests for those over the
I
years.
don't know who owns them. I think Jackson owns them personally or something.
But
I thought it was
US,
Lionsgate. I thought. Believe me, in the 5 years we try to pursue everything, and I know that I'm sure that we've pursued that. But
Sometimes the rights to these films are a little more complicated. They've changed hands
oh
a
my
little
God.
bit, and it's hard to.
The legal issues sometimes to get some of these, or sometimes these films are owned by one person, one producer who wants a lot of money, and no one will get them. It's very tricky sometimes. It's as a fan, your eyes get wide open really quickly.
And you might even be right. Like, Peter might personally own all the films, but that doesn't mean he hasn't licensed them out to someone already who is currently sitting on them. And that happens all the time.
But it's nice to know that you would like them here, and that's
Yeah,
great.
I would like them.
I like a lot.
I'm gonna have to
Meet the Feebles. I'm going to throw in Meet the Feebles in there as well.
That is my favorite out of the 3, without a doubt.
I'm gonna have to put a bird in an ear and another ear and see if we can't get you guys talking, because that would be great.
Very good.
Also, thanks for announcing Misery and Silent Night, Deadly Night. Those movies are great.
You're welcome.
Belly up to the
Forgotten
microphone,
Silver.
my man. He's got a list.
I'm going to throw in Forgotten Silver
Just to let you know,
as
we
well.
got 5 minutes.
I'm going to throw in
Rapid
Forgotten Silver
fire.
as well, the Peter Jackson documentary that got him in trouble in New Zealand for people. It's very.
That's right.
It was very Orson Welles-esque that the entire nation of New Zealand thought it was true. That a man in New Zealand had come up with like color film and had come up with the flying machine before the Wright brothers, and that they had just found the film, and it turned out to be a complete mockumentary. And I would put that out too.
Rapid fire.
Hey.
Leatherface, Ruckus or Dirk Benedict, Beastmaster, Automatic TV series, Jaws 2, The Black Hole, Dragon Slayer, House Party 2, House Party 1, Kill and Kill Again, Kill or Be Killed, Smokey and the Bandit Trilogy, Cannonball Run 2, Cannonball Run the Original, and my #1 pick, Dune Extended and Theatrical Version. If you can get The Thing and Streets of Fire, you can get Dune from Universal.
Every title he just mentioned is something that I want to see on Blu-ray.
You mentioned a couple of Disney titles on there. I got to tell you, I talked with Brian.
Well, hold on.
Black Hole.
And
Awesome.
most every title you mentioned, Jaws 2, Beastmaster, all that kinds of, I know we've looked into. And for one reason or another, we haven't been able to get yet. I'd like to say never, because we pull off the impossible. Sometimes it takes longer for us to do it. But
You
thank
never
you.
know, and just something
You
might
never know.
happen at the studio one day. They just go, you know what? Let's do it. Why
Right,
not?
exactly.
I talk with Brian all the time about. I want to see a Tombstone special edition because that movie needs a special edition. There's a great story to be told there.
Hey.
Yeah, my bachelor party took me to see Drag Me to Hell before the big night, so that was exciting news. But in vain of the other gentlemen,
Can we put his bachelor party as a bonus feature?
My wish list is Martin by George Romero.
Yes.
Blood on Satan's Claw. 5 Million Years to Earth. American Werewolf in London.
That would be a good one.
Flash Gordon, the 1980 version.
Oh, yeah.
Also a good one.
Yeah.
The 2 Conan movies. And if you can bring back Blues Brothers on Blu-ray.
Okay. Duly noted.
So I
The
know
one
you,
film or both?
Blues Brothers? Oh, dude. There's only one.
Just making sure we're all on the same page.
Right.
Like the shirt.
Okay, one more question.
One last question.
So I know the joke was already made for the announcement, but is there anything that we as fans can do to campaign for an all Paul Rudd commentary track on Mac and Me? Is that a thing that you could try to pull off?
It may or may not have been considered. I'm not going to say whether
How about Ronald
people want to
McDonald?
talk about it, but a bonus feature is to be honest later.
See, that's a good thing about like if you've thought of it, these guys have probably thought of it because they're fans as well.
That's the interesting thing. That's the interesting thing is that people don't necessarily understand that like things that you were thought of as like no-brainers. Like we if it didn't appear on the disc, it's not necessarily because we didn't think of it. It's because that person may not have wanted to talk. We may not have been able to get it. But yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. I think that's it. I think that's all we've got time for. Where can people find you guys? Social media.
Scream Factory. I run those channels and.
At Shout Factory, I do not run those channels, but the person who does is awesome, and she may or may not be in the room right now.
And also Facebook, the Facebook pages. There's a nice thriving community on Facebook where you can interact and you can send lists to these guys and all that
come
kind
down
of
to the
stuff.
booth. We've got a lot of stuff that's not available right now in stores or online, and you can get it right downstairs. So yeah.
And you can find me at Bill Hunt Bits at Twitter and thedigitalbits.com.
Thank you, Bill.
So thank you
Great
guys.
moderator.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you, Bill.